Hi, good afternoon again,
Hi, good
everyone.
afternoon. Thank you very much for the patience.
Like I
We
mentioned just a while ago, we'll be
today
discussing
we'll be
on
discussing
the
on
taxes that
the taxes that
you will be
you
subjected
will be
to in the next
subjected
couple
to
of
in the next
months
couple
before you file
before
them
you file
in
them
April.
in April.
As part of our
As part
yearly webinars, we have this webinar going on a yearly basis just before the employees start filing their taxes. Now, with that said, I am Suvish and I'll be the host for your today's webinar. Before we get into the topics of the webinar, just a couple of things so that a couple of pointers for you to keep in mind to ensure you leverage the best out of the session. On the right hand side of the of your screen, you will notice a window. It's basically the GoToWebinar control panel. On that window, you have an option for either chat or raise your questions as in when we swip through the topics. You can use these options to raise your questions, and we'll ensure we'll cover them during the session. In case we are not able to answer your question due to lack of time, we will ensure that email the responses back to you at the earliest. Having said that, let me just take a moment's time to introduce our speaker. Today's speaker is Rohini Kumari. She is a chartered accountant by profession, and she's been with ADP for the last couple of years, helping our clients and employees to ensure that legislatively we stay compliant. She's also been helping us with webinars of this kind in the past, and ensuring that right awareness is built among our clients and their employees. With that in mind, let me just take a moment's time, a couple of minutes to introduce you to the agenda of the webinar. We have divided the entire session into three main topics. We'll start with the direct tax slab, introduction to that, and what are the rates that prevails for this particular fiscal. What are the allowances that one can have as part of the pay structures, and the allowable deductions for each of these allowances. Then the third part is usually a little confusing personally for me, and something which we'll take it up over here also is on various investments option that the government has put in for ensuring we optimize our taxes. Now, with that said, I give the control to our speaker of the day, Rohini. She'll take you through she'll take us through the session and various topics that she has in plan for us. Over to you, Rohini.
Thank you, Suvish. Hello, all. This is Rohini. So, today I'm going to take you through my slides and we're going to talk about all do's and don'ts for optimizing your taxes. So, for the first slide is know your direct slabs. So, which slabs are you into? So, if you are between your below age of 60 years, then these are the rates which are applicable. That is 2.5 nil, 2.5 to 5 10%, 5 to 10 20%, 10 30%. If you're in between 60 years to 80 years, then this is a slab rate, that is 3 lakh. That's up to 3 lakhs nil, 3 to 5 lakhs 10%, 5 to 10 20%, and over and above 10 lakhs 20%. In case you are in the last slab, that is very senior citizen, that is above 80 years, then the total then that's the table which you have to refer. That is up to 5 lakh, there is no tax. Over and above 5 to 10 lakhs, then it's the rate is 20%, and 10 lakhs and more, the rate is 30%. If you see on the right hand side, there are notes, three notes. The first one is the tax rebate of 5,000 rupees. So, if your taxable income is less than 5 lakh rupees, ultimately you will get a tax rebate of 5,000 from your tax liability. That simply means when you're paying your taxes, so if your tax liability is 15,000, you would be paying 10,000, not 15,000. in case your taxable income is less than 5 lakh. The education cess and higher education cess still remains the same. That is 3%, that is 2% of education cess and 1% of higher education cess. The last point, the last note, if you see the third point, the surcharge has been increased from 12% to 15% this year. So if your taxable income exceeds 1 crore rupees in a year, then you have to pay an additional surcharge over and above your tax at the rate of 15%. Earlier, this rate was 12%. So this has been a recurring change in surcharge for the last 3 years. Last year it was 10%, which was increased to 12, and now it's 15%. The upcoming slides are all the allowable deductions, allowances, and the documents required to claim it. So the first and most common we all know as house rent allowances, which is under section 1013A. So this HRA can be only claimed only if it's a part of your CTC. So HRA component should be there as a part of your CTC. Secondly, the HR tax exemption has to be calculated as the below table. That is, in case you are in from Mumbai, in metro cities, that is Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi, and Chennai, the exemption would be below of the three given in table. That is, actual HRA received, rent paid minus 10% of the salary, and the third is 50% of the salary. In any other non-metro cities, the exemption would be calculated based on the three option, that is actual HRA received, rent paid minus 10% of the salary, and 40% of the salary. Salary here means basic plus DA. Non-applicability of exemption if the house, so one cannot claim an HRA if the house is owned by the employee himself, or he's not paying any rental income or rental payment to the person. The documents required for an employee to claim HRA is rent receipt. So rent agreement, because a rent agreement only signifies the agreement between two people and doesn't denote any or doesn't provide any proof that any payment was made. It's always better to take rental receipt into while giving the exemptions. But the company can also collect a rental agreement as a supplementary or a supporting additional supporting document from their employees, as the case may be. Also, in case where the rental payment of the individual exceeds 1 lakh rupees for the year, then he has to provide PAN name and address of the landlord. I'll take a moment here. This has been newly introduced by the Form 12BB. So after introduction of Form 12BB, as soon as an individual rental payment exceeds more than 1 lakh rupees, the individual to claim HRA benefit over and above 1 lakh rupees has to provide PAN name and address. So taking a hypothetical situation here, so if I have changed 12 landlords in the passage of 12 months from April to March, I'm paying 10,000 to each of the landlords. So I want to claim an HRA of 1,20,000, which is more than 1 lakh rupees. So to claim that 1,20,000, I need to get individual PAN name and address for all the landlords for all the 12 months.
So Rohini, I think we'll continue our tradition of making the webinar a lot more interactive, right? So I've been getting a couple of questions now. This is a confusing situation for all of us. I know for the matter of fact that I have troubled you a couple of times in the past to get clarifications around this. So in terms of some of the questions that our audience is asking, so one of the questions that is coming in front of my screen is. Do we have any format for rent receipt in the HR portal? I think they're talking about our HR portal. Yeah, so ADP doesn't have any rental receipt format in our HR portal, but these rental receipts depends on what you're getting from the landlord. So my rental receipt from my individual landlord would be different from Suvish's receipt from his individual landlord. It can be same,
can be different. So
but what you're saying is there's no set template kind of.
There is a set template given by income tax department. Either you can use it, or the landlord can give their own individual rental receipt which they buy from market, or they individually write on a piece of paper and then sign it. But it has to be authenticated, signed, and properly sealed by the landlord.
Okay, so the income tax department, the format that you mentioned, where can they go and get it? Is it
Is
available
there
on
a
the site?
site, or else if you are an ADP client, please do ping the SPOC and the SPOC may help you.
All right, thank you for that. So I've got one more question before we move to the second topic. One of the audience is asking if she can provide rent agreement along with bank statement. I think it's the case when the owner has if they decline to provide the PAN,
Rental receipt.
yeah, or the PAN number, PAN card. Can they provide the bank statement?
See, as long as every proofs is collected and every the proof of payment has been captured. So here in this case, the bank statement uh, is good as a supporting, but is a good as supporting if the company and validating party is agreeing. So I think, according to me, a bank statement providing each month 15,000 given to the same account number is a good proof to be taken instead of rental receipt. But you can always try and get the rental receipt, because it's always a very good proof instead of any bank statements where there are n number of transactions or any other receipts which are not commonly used in income tax department.
All right, I think that answers a lot of questions, a lot of people's question that has been posted over here, because a lot of them have same concern. All right, we can move to the next topic.
Also, one thing I do know that the TDS circular, which was recently given on 2nd of Jan, provides that the declaration is activated. The declaration can be taken in case there is no PAN name and address from the landlord. To correct on that, even if the TDS circular says that we are unable to file our Q4 return without quoting all the PAN details of the landlords. So, say my rental payment for the year was 1,20,000. I want to claim 1,20,000. As soon as my rental payment for the year exceeds 1 lakh, 1 rupee also, the three columns get activated automatically in Form 24Q, which we all have to file. So the TDS return cannot be filed without the PAN name and address of the landlord. It's throwing invalid error, or it's not taking, or it's not finalizing the whole document or the whole TDS return. So to file TDS return, we need to capture PAN name and address of the landlord currently. Hoping there would be any other amendments thereon, then we will be communicating that. So moving ahead from HRA, the second and the most common one again is the leave travel allowances. The few points to be remembered while claiming an LTA is, the first is LTA claims are based on calendar years, that is Jan to December, and not financial year, that is April to March. Second is travels should be completed. So 2 complete round trips can be claimed in the block of 4 years. The current block, ongoing block, is 2014 to 2017. That is 1st Jan 2014 to 31st December 2017. On this 2 complete round trip, one cannot claim 2 round trips in the same calendar year, but the individual can claim in the same 2 round trips in the same financial year, assuming one trip was in 2016 and the next trip is 2017. So one round trip, both the round trips cannot be claimed in one calendar year. The next one is LTA can be claimed only for domestic travels in India. There has been n number of case laws whether Andaman Nicobar is trips to Andaman Nicobar can be claimed under LTA. So to clarify that, yes, because Andaman Nicobar is very much part of India, so any travels to Andaman Nicobar can be claimed under leave travel allowances. The next one is, an individual can claim LTA allowances for himself, his spouse, kid, parents, and wholly dependent brother and sister. So when you are claiming for your dependent brother and sister, you need to get an affidavit or a certificate stating that your brother and sisters are wholly dependent on you and they don't have any source of incomes. The last two pointers only talks about if you're not claiming any benefit during this block year of 2014-2017. So say I haven't claimed any travels in this, so this two travels I haven't claimed in the block of 4 years. Ultimately, I can carry forward one trip and I will be eligible for claiming three trips in that block of next block year, that is 2018 to 2021, with a condition that the carry forwarded trip should be completed in 2018 itself. The same, this last point also says the same thing. If I'm not claiming, I'm claiming one trip, I'm not claiming the other trip, I can carry forward that unclaimed trip to the next year, next block year, with a condition that I claim the next trip in 2018 itself.
One part which I got to know just before the webinar was that you can claim it's the calendar year that matters, not the financial year.
Yes.
So,
so whenever you're claiming, please keep all your proofs based on calendar year basis. I know it's very confusing because all we submit financial year basis and ultimately LTA claims are given calendar year basis. Please ensure you keep these in mind and start up with your claims.
So around LTA, we have a couple of questions, Rohini. One question was if they can claim LTA for the kids.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay. So the other question was around LTA is if can they claim LTA if it is not part of CTC?
Any allowances can be claimed, or the exemption on any allowances can only be claimed if it's a part of your CTC. So if your CTC doesn't have a LTA claim, unfortunately, you cannot claim it.
Okay. So a couple more questions on LTA that we can take before we move to the next topic. Do we have or person asked, do we have to submit the tickets, etc., and only claim declaration is sufficient?
After introduction of Form 12BB, it has been very clear that without supporting documents, no LTA can be claimed. So no declaration. Please, if you're traveling by air, give your check-in pass and also your invoice. If you're traveling by rail, please give your tickets. If you're traveling by road, please collect all your petrol bills and cab bills or any driver's bills and then submit it accordingly. No declaration is allowed from this year onwards.
All right, I think we have the same question around what if the company is paying LTA on a monthly basis?
It's very similar. If the company is paying, firstly, LTA is only proof-based exemption to be given. So if the company is paying on a monthly basis, it doesn't make a huge difference, but I will always request to change the policy for, if I'm claiming on, if I'm giving LTA, it should be always on against bill. But even if the company is giving on a monthly basis, that's not a problem. It's still legal. Ultimately, like medical reimbursement, we get the 1250 per month, and ultimately the tax exemption is calculated on an annum basis during approved submission mode. Yeah. Similarly, LTA can also be done in the same way. But I will always request, please have it against the bill. So LTA should be always given against the bill. It's always better to track LTA.
Right.
Okay, moving ahead. The most talked about deduction is R24, Section 24, or interest portion of house property. So, keeping that in mind, first one is uh, in case it's a loan taken for acquisition or construction and the property is let out, any amount of interest paid is allowable as exemption or deduction. In case the loan has been taken for acquisition or construction and ultimately the house is self-occupied, uh, only up to a limit of 2 lakh rupees can be claimed. Keep this 2 lakh in mind. We will see the conditions for claiming this 2 lakh in another 2 minutes. In case the loan has been taken for repair, renewal, and reconstruction, self-occupied, again, it's limited to 30,000 only. In case it's let out, loan taken for repair, renewal, and reconstruction, and property is let out, it's any amount payable is allowed. So keeping Pre-construction interest, these all we will talk. So any pre-construction. So if I got a possession on 29th March 2017, the whole year interest paid from 1st April 2016 to 31st March or 29th March 2017 is my current year interest. So any interest paid before 1st April 2016 would be my pre-construction period interest. So this pre-construction period interest, which is accumulated over the periods from the loan sanction date to the possession date, ultimately these interest can be claimed in 5 equal installment for the next 5 years, along with the interest for the current financial year. So self-occupied simply means you're occupying that house for your own residential purpose. You haven't given it to your family or relative to stay. You haven't let it out, or you're not using for it as a professional or any other employment purpose. So most important, up to 2 lakhs. So in self-occupied house property, one can claim 2 lakhs only if the acquisition or construction was done on or after 1st April 1999, and the construction was complete within 5 years from the end of the financial year in which the capital was borrowed. If these two conditions are not complied with, then ultimately this 2 lakh drops down to 30,000. Having the example here, the capital was borrowed on 10th Jan 2010, and acquisition and construction was complete on 31st March 2015. So from 10th Jan, so the 5 year calculation will start from 31st March 2010 to 31st March 2015. Because the 5 years was not complete, the person can claim 2 lakh rupees. One additional point is from this year onwards, due to introduction of Form 12BB, in case you're claiming the interest under Section 24, you have to provide PAN, name, and address of the lender or the from the lending party or the financial institution from where you have taken the loans.
All right, so I can see that house rent section or the housing your HR allowances part is quite busy section over here at the questions window. I think the first one that I can see here is there's a scenario that one of the attendee has put forward. If the home loan is taken with both husband and wife as co-applicants, and also the house is let out is owned by both husband and wife. If the wife worked only for 4 months in the fiscal year, can the husband claim the complete principal and interest loss for the house which is let out?
Suvish, I will ask you to park that question and repeat that in another 2 minutes.
Okay.
We have another slide which we would be talking about this.
All right, perfect. So I hope the person who has asked the question is still there with us. Okay, so do you want me to take a couple of other questions, or should
No,
we wait
let's
for
let's
you?
complete 2 other slides,
All
and
right.
then we will do all the questions.
All right.
So the additional section which was reintroduced this year was Section 80EE. So individuals can only, so this is only allowed for self-occupied house property. In case an individual has a self-occupied house property, he can claim an additional interest of rupees 50,000 over and above 2 lakh rupees in case he satisfied the below 4 condition. The first condition is he's a first time home buyer in FY 16-17. That simply means the assessee doesn't own any house property in his name on the date in before the loan sanction date. Second is the if the loan sanction was so the loan sanction date is always is between 1st April 2016 to 31st March 2017. The loan sanction amount does not exceed 35 lakhs, and the value of house property does not exceed 50 lakhs. These are the 4 conditions. So if you comply with this, you can claim not 2 lakhs, but for a self-occupied house property, you can claim 2,50,000. The documents required to be submitted for claiming it, Section 24, as well as this is interest payment receipt. For claiming ATEE, that is additional interest, you have to submit a declaration stating that these 4 conditions has been complied with. If you're an ADP client, these all the 4 declaration or
All the four checkpoint is already embedded in our ESS portal. So ultimately, you don't have to submit any separate declaration because these conditions are already embedded. Unless and until you check on all the four conditions, the ATEE column won't be activated. Moving ahead, the clarifications which I need to bring for house property is: first, the principal and interest amount can be claimed only when the construction is complete or the possession has been received by the individual. However, the stamp duty and the registration charges can be claimed in the year of payment irrespective of the possession. So if I have paid these stamp duty and possession charges, I can claim for stamp duty and registration charges up to 1.5 lakh, including all the ATC deductions. I can claim for this financial year itself in which the payment was made. Second, in case an individual possesses more than one house property, the individual has to make one house of his or her choice as self-occupied. All the other houses would be deemed as let out. So income tax doesn't recognize vacant house property or given to relative house property or any other. So income tax only recognizes two, that is self-occupied and let out. So if you have five houses, you're claiming one as uh, self-occupied. The rest four has to be deemed let out, irrespective whether these four out of these four houses, whether two are used by your own relative and parents or the rest two are vacant. So answer to Suvish's question was co-owners and co-applicants. So the co-owner is a person whose ownership rights. So I and my spouse, if go ahead and buy a property, we are said to be co-owners. And co-applicants are, so if me and my spouse go ahead and apply for a home loan, we are called co-applicants. So I and my spouse can claim the benefit of Section 24 only if we both are co-owner as well as co-applicant. And as he asked, the question was, if the wife is only working for 4 months and she's not working for any other month, can he claim the whole benefit? It's based on what you're paying. So if your wife is still continuing paying for the rest of the months, irrespective whether she's employed or not, unfortunately, the husband can't claim the whole benefit. So it has to be what is your payment schedule, how is your payment schedule given by the bank, and if by any chance the husband is paying the whole amount and the wife is not contributing in these Section 24 interest payment, then the husband can claim the 100% amount, irrespective who is the co-owner, who's the co-applicant, and what is the percentage sharing of the loan amount given in the banks. If the husband is paying the whole amount, he can claim it.
All right. So this is quite a busy section, Rohini. So we'll take a couple of I think a few minutes to answer some of these questions so that we don't pile it up towards the end. One such question is where the attendee's parents are staying in a property at his native place, and the rent of that property is being paid by this gentleman. He would like to claim that expenditure, but he's also claiming the expenditure that he is giving to his current rent apartment at his workplace. So can he do that? Is the question.
So to answer this question, HRA and home loan deduction can be claimed altogether. The only condition is, so you are working, say I am, my native place say is Pune, and I'm working in Chennai. I'm paying rent in Chennai, and I have bought a loan, home loan in Pune house, for the Pune house where my family is staying. So I can claim my HRA in Chennai, which is my official residence now, and I can claim a home loan for the loan payment which I'm making in Pune house, for whom claiming it as a self-occupied, and I can go ahead with claiming both the exemptions. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, a few questions around the same topic, so maybe we can combine all of that together. Yeah, so the question is also around the amount of 2 lakhs and 30,000 be claimed for the same amount in case the employee has both the home loan and also a repair loan?
To answer that, Suvish, individually, there would be a bifurcation in both the loans. So, say I'm paying 3 lakh rupees of home loan for taken for the new construction. I've also taken simultaneously of maybe I'm paying an interest of 40,000 rupees in for loan taken for repairs and maintenance. I think cumulative on a pro rata basis, I can only claim 2 lakh rupees in this financial year. But if you want a brief one, we can mail them again, looking into all the matters and giving them all the details.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. So there's this gentleman who I think this is from the previous section that we had, Rohini, and this is regarding the PAN card part. And if the owner is not ready to pay the PAN card, give the information details around the owner's landowner's PAN card, what could be done by employees in that situation?
So, uh, for claiming an HRA right now, need PAN, name and address. Unfortunately, if there is the landowner is doesn't have a PAN, or maybe he's not providing you the PAN, uh, unfortunately, your restrictions or your claim would be restricted to 1 lakh rupees only. Because as soon as it's 1 lakh rupee one, you have to provide PAN name and address, or without that, you can't claim it. So, because even if I'm paying an HRA of 3 lakh rupees, my landlord is not providing me the PAN name and address, my HRA would be restricted to 1 lakh rupees only.
Okay, and what happens if in certain cases where the employee has a property, say for example in Pune or any other city in India, but also has been living in a rented apartment in the same city. What happens in that cases?
So, HRA and home loan can be claimed if both the houses are in different areas or different cities. So we spoke about Chennai and Pune, but I don't think so. If the person is staying in Pune itself and he has both the houses for the rental HRA and for home loan, he won't be able to claim both. But a few companies, like I can give you a hypothetical situation for Mumbai. So in case I am staying in Navi Mumbai, but my office is in Kalyan or something, which takes 2.5 hours on a daily basis. Keeping HR policy and the company policy in loop, if they are agreeing on this, my house loan or home loan in New Mumbai can also be claimed along with my rental payment, which I make in Kalyan, where my office is situated. But it has to be company defined policy has to be in place for claiming such close houses HRA as well as home loan.
All right. So, last question in this particular section. I think you answered it, but I'm seeing a lot of people have raised this question. If the spouse owns the property, can the husband pay the rent and claim HRA exemption?
No, there is the only relationship which is not commercialized as per income tax is husband and wife. So the person paying rent to his or his wife cannot be claimed against HRA rental payments.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rohini. Maybe we can take up rest of the questions as we move forward.
So going ahead, the last one is pre-construction period. The pre-construction period starts with the date when the loan was taken and it ends on 31st March immediately preceding the year in which construction was complete. So going ahead, now we will talk about Chapter 6A deductions. ATC is the largest section in Chapter 6A, which has an overall bracket of 1.5 lakh. The next few slides, we will provide you the complete overview of all the investment schemes allowed under ATC, and I will only talk about a few investment scheme which I have faced queries from the clients and people. I'm not going to take all the investment scheme, but I will take you through all the deck. The first one is ATC, LIC, PPF, 5 year, the senior citizen saving account scheme. So I cannot do it on behalf of my mom, who is a senior citizen, but I will be doing it on in my name. So if I am saving something for my pension, or maybe my 60 plus years savings, this 1 point up to 1.5 lakh, if I invest in senior citizen savings scheme, then only I can claim under ATC. The next is specified equity shares or debentures. So there are list of notified equity shares and debenture which is released from time to time. So only for those notified shares, if I'm investing in those notified shares only, then only I can claim under ATC. So the eighth point is housing loan principal repayment of 1.5 lakh. So stamp duty and registration fee, as we spoke earlier, we can also claim those under this for under ATC claims. The last one is tuition fees for your children. So this tuition fees doesn't include any late payment fees or anything rest. So only tuition fees means normal tuition fees given by payment made to the schools and colleges. Employee Provident Fund, National Savings Certificate, UTI, LIC mutual fund, Sukanya Samriddhi. So a Sukanya Samriddhi account can only be opened in the name of a girl child whose age is 10 years or less. So as soon as your girl child is at the age of 11, you cannot open Sukanya Samriddhi account in her name. And if say the girl child, an individual open a Sukanya Samriddhi account at the age of 2, the person can continue to contribute in that account till the age of 15, when the girl child attains the age of 15, and the withdrawal policy is after 18 plus. So these are the major ones in ATC. So if you have any other ATC questions, please let me know. The overall limit of ATC is 1.5 lakh, that is 1,50,000 only. So
Uh, so yeah, I think this gentleman had just won this question around the limitation.
yeah, it's 1.5 lakh.
Yes, it's not 2 lakhs,
No,
right? So
no.
that's, I think we answered that question. There's a couple of questions that that are there from the previous section, Rohini. One was if the stamp duty and registration fees is acceptable. I think it's part of the HRA, if that can be. Uh,
So the question here, Suvish, is the stamp duty and registration fee acceptable if the person buys a land? So no, for anything buying a land, it's not acceptable. But if you're buying a land and also constructing a house property on that, then combining both, you can claim stamp duty and registration fees for that specific condition only.
Okay. Wow. So a lot of questions around that. Will be okay. So there is a question around Pradhan Mantri scheme under NPS that will be covered later. So stay tuned to that. A lot of questions around the NPS part, which will come later. So the question is, not sure if you had mentioned about this 5 lakh thing. As a limit, so the question is that we mentioned 5 lakhs as annual income. There's no tax to be paid. If the 5 lakhs gross income, or does it mean 5 lakhs after tax planning of 1.5 lakhs under Section 80C?
So Suvish, the person is asking about the 5 lakh rebate. So the rebate can be claimed if your income is less than 5 lakh. This 5 lakh here is your net income after all the ATC and all the section deductions, allowance exemption claimed and everything. So this is your net income, not your gross total income. So if after claiming all the deductions under all the sections, if your taxable income is less than 5 lakh, then you can claim the benefit of 5,000 of income tax discount. So going ahead, we will talk in the next few slides. We will only talk about pension schemes and the allowable deductions. So talking about pension scheme, we have 80CCC major one and 80CCD. About this 80CCD, we will talk in next few slides, focusing on 80CCC. So any contribution made to pension scheme, which are private pension schemes, are eligible to be claimed under 80CCC. This 80CC limit is along with all the 80C deductions of 1.5 lakh. So 80CCD, or most commonly known as National Pension Scheme, we're gonna talk about National Pension Scheme. There are three sections under National Pension Scheme, that is 80CCD1, 80CCD2 and 80CCD3. 80CCD1 is nothing but an employee contribution to the NPS scheme up to 10% of their basic plus DA, and 80CCD1 clubs along with all the 80C deductions, and the limit is up to 1.5 lakh. So there are two conditions to claim 80CCD1. One is that it has to be less than 1.5 lakh along with all the 80C deductions. The second is 10%, or the restriction amount is 10% of basic plus DA. The second is 80CCD2. The amount here, so 80CCD2 is employer contribution on behalf of employee. So the amount paid by employer on behalf of employee can be claimed up to 10% of basic plus DA. So this is over and above 1.5 lakh, and the upper limit is not mentioned. So if my 10% of basic plus DA is comes to 3 lakhs also, an employer is contributing on my behalf, I can claim the benefit of this 3 lakh over and above 1.5 lakh under 80C. So I will get a benefit of 1.5 lakh from 80C and 3 lakhs from 80CCD2. So overall exemption to be claimed this year would be 4.5. 80CCD1B is an additional sections introduced last year. In this, if an individual goes ahead and contributes under National Pension Scheme up to a limit of 50,000 rupees, this can be claimed under Section 80CCD 1B. This section again is over and above 1.5 lakh. So any contribution made here is over and above 1.5 lakh. So if the person is claiming 1.5 there in ADC, he can, and contributing 50,000 under NPS, the overall exemption for the person in that year is 2 lakh rupees.
So basically, I think there were a lot of questions where they had mentioned 2 lakh as the amount. So it's not 2 lakh as a whole, it's 1.5 lakh, which is part of ATC, which includes your house rent and your insurance and all of those parts that you mentioned earlier. And the 50,000 is exclusively for NPS.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a few clarification, which is very, I have heard a lot of confusion on this was, so if I'm contributing, say from my payroll, I'm contributing 2 lakh rupees to my NPS, assuming all the conditions, there is no contribution in ATC, hypothetically, and there are nothing. So ultimately, up to 1.5 lakh, assuming that 1.5 lakh is 10% of my basic, I can claim under ATCSD1. I can carry forward the balance of out of 1 lakh 2 lakh rupees, the 50,000, which is the balance, which I haven't claimed under ATCCD1. I can carry forward and claim it under ATCCD1B. So even if I'm contributing through payroll, the payroll calculation can be bifurcated between 1 up to 1.5 lakh and 50,000 under 1B. So vice versa. So if I'm claiming 1.2 lakhs rupees individually going out and contributing in a bank, I can claim 50,000 rupees under 80CCD1B, and I can claim under 80CCD1 as 1.5 lakh. There is a second which was introduced, that is called Atal Pension Yojana, which can be claimed under NPS. The last line simply says you can only withdraw the whole NPS amount once you attain 60 years of age. and the withdrawal would be only 40% of the corpus would be tax exempted, whereas 60% even at the age of 60 years would be taxable. So taking this, so Subish, you have any questions on NPS? We can take that along with this slide and then go ahead with it.
No, I think NPS, most of the questions around NPS have been cleared. Although I have some questions around HRA, if you want to take it up right now, or do you want to take it up later?
We can take all the HRA questions at the end.
To it. All right, sure.
So the next one is ATCCG, that is Rajiv Gandhi Equity Scheme. There are 5 conditions to be complied with to claim this exemption. First, you have to be a resident Indian. Your second, your taxable total income, gross total income should not exceed 12 lakh rupees. Third, you have acquired listed share, which is notified by government. Fourth, it's you are a new retail investor. That simply means this is the first time you have opened a demat account. This is the first time you're transacting into equity shares and stuff. The fifth one is the shares which you have acquired should be locked in or shouldn't be sold for the next 3 years from the date of acquisition. If you comply these 5 conditions, the maximum eligible amount is 50% of the amount invested or rupees 25,000, whichever is lower.
So I just found, in the maze of all these questions, I found one question around CCD, ATCCD, your previous section, Rohini, where this gentleman is asking if the employer gets the tax deduction as business expense for contributing to employees' pension under ATCCD.
Yes. So if the person is, I mean, the employer is contributing on behalf of employee, they will get a deduction from their P&L statement. They can show it as a debit side. Okay. Going ahead after ATCCD, so for claiming ATCCG, there should be copy of investment for all the shares which you have invested. Second, it should be a self-declaration stating that you are a new retail investor or individuals who have just opened an account. Going ahead, the sections are 80D. So any deductions in respect of health insurance premium paid is this. So this is the chart which we normally publish it to all our persons. So the first column is the individual age, senior citizen, other than senior citizen. So that this is the exemption amount in the third column. The fourth column talks about the age of the parents and the eligible amount side, and the total eligible amount for the person in that year in case of these permutation and combinations. So currently the ongoing, if you are 60 and less than 60, the maximum health insurance premium claimable is 25,000. And in case the senior citizen, if you are a senior citizen and above, that is 60 plus, then it's 30,000 overall. For you, your wife, and your kid, 25,000. For your parents, mother and father, 25,000. So there is no dependent brother and sisters allowed in here. So there is a small that is called preventive health checkup. Preventive health checkup where you do a mass body health checkup or a master body health checkup. You can claim under ATD irrespective whether you have an insurance policy or not. These master health checkup, the maximum amount to be claimed is 5,000 rupees only. And mode of payment is for preventive health checkup, it should be any other mode other than cash. And medical premium, any mode is allowed. So it has to be in these modes. The bill receipts and premium payment receipt has to be submitted for claiming these benefits. Going, yeah.
There are ATD. So ATD you're talking about the health insurance part, right? So there's a question around that. Can ATD claimed as part of employer's GMC policy?
So corporate group medical policies. So where company takes overall medical insurance for all their employees and then pay a lump sum amount to the individual service provider, health insurance service provider, cannot be claimed under ATD. So if my company has taken a health insurance policy in my name and I'm contributing 2,000 from my salary on a monthly basis, that 2,000 which is accumulated by my company and paid in a lump sum check in one stroke to the health insurance cannot be claimed. But tomorrow, if I top up on this 2000 rupees, so I want to additionally contribute or maybe expand my insurance coverage more from 2 lakhs rupees to 5 lakh rupees. I am paying an additional insurance premium of say 3000 over and above 2000 of normal flat group insurance policy, which is normally undertaken by my company. This 3000 which I'm additionally paying uh, can be claimed with the condition that my company is giving on its letterhead signed by proper authority stating that I have an additional insurance premium paid by Rohini Kumari of 3000 rupees on a monthly basis. Ultimately, the additional contribution for the annum was say 30,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees from Rohini Kumari and signed by authorized person. Then only I can claim this 3000 which is additional one over a normal 2000 rupees under 80D. Hopefully, we are clear there.
Um, okay, so the preventive health, you took up that topic.
Yeah.
So during the preventive health checkup amount of 5,000 per person, or is it for per person or for the entire family, including parents?
It's a bit debatable. So 5,000 is a few people interpret it as for an entire family, including parents. A few people say it's 5,000 for family, that is me, my spouse, my kids, and 5,000 for my dependent parents.
Okay.
But it's still debatable. I don't know which interpretation will the company policy, your company policy is taking. Check with your company policy and ultimately claim the preventive health checkup amount.
Okay, so
So going ahead, talking about preventive health checkup, this 5,000. So even if I'm paying 30,000 rupees, so assuming I don't have, I'm paying 30,000 for only my medical insurance. I also incurred of 5,000 rupees as a preventive health checkup. I cannot claim 35 or 25 plus 5,000. Everything inclusive of this preventive health checkup and everything inclusive, my upper limit is restricted to 25,000 only, including my insurance premium, including my preventive health checkup and all the expenses. Going ahead, for medical treatment or for disabled people, there are two sections. So 80DD is for dependent, 80U is for self. So the list of the claim can be, if you're disabled between 84% to 40 to 80%, then the limit is 75,000. And if your disability percentage is 80% and more, then the eligibility is 1,25,000. For claiming your disability or your dependent disability, you have to provide certificate in the form of 10(1)(a). I know 10(1)(a) has been replaced by prescription. This prescription is not a common prescription which we get from a normal doctor. This prescription is a long, big form where the authorized doctor signs it, provides the details of the diseases, the percentage of disability, and all the details are captured in this prescription and then ultimately allowed for a claim under 80DD or under 80U. So going ahead, 80E for higher education, loan taken for higher education. So the deduction in respect of repayment of interest on home education loan taken can be claimed here. So the education loan can be taken from any financial institution or any approved charitable organization. The third is this higher education loan can be claimed for self, spouse, or children, or a person or the kid for whom you are a legal guardian. And the last point is the most important point: the interest when you start paying, or the education loan interest when you start paying, can be claimed for the year in which you start paying and for the next 7 financial year. The documents required to claim the exemption under 80E is certificate of interest paid. Going ahead, section 80GG. 80GG is deduction with respect to rent paid. So the SSE can claim a deduction under 80GG only if the HRA component is not there in their salary structure. So say my CTC doesn't have a HRA component, I'm still paying a rent, then I can claim my rent payment under this section. That is section 80GG. The maximum amount which can be claimed under section 80GG are lower of the three. That is rent paid minus 10% of adjusted total income. Second is 5,000 per month or 25% of my adjusted total income, whichever is lower. So the condition to claim 80GG is one, I shouldn't have an HRA component in my salary structure. And second, neither I, my spouse, or minor child should have any house in their name, so I can claim 80GG. Over and above that, so the document required is the rent receipt again. So the last point which I want to highlight in this session is taxation on provident fund. In case you're planning to withdraw your provident fund in before the continuous 5 years of service, due to any reason in your personal reasons you're opting for withdrawal of provident fund, then in those instances the person, if the withdrawal amount is exceeding 50,000 rupees, the person has to bear a flat TDS of 10% under section 192A, and this tax would be deducted from provident fund department. But in case you are, if including this 50,000, you are crossing the 20% or 30% bracket, then ultimately the balance 20%, the balance 10% or 20% respectively would be paid by you while filing an income tax return. So this concludes my whole webinar.
All right, thank you, Rohini. We have a stream of questions that we'll probably have to answer in the next few minutes. So let me take up the first question for our Q&A round. So this we have got this question where the person has asked, in my company, 50% of the premium paid by is paid by the employer, and 50% is paid by the employee. But when it comes to his or her family members of the employee, full premium is paid by employee only, but the agent or the payment process goes through the company name. Then can the employee claim for the tax on the amount which he paid for the family?
So, as I already said, if the normal group insurance premium cannot be claimed under 80D, but you're having a top up for your family, personally for your family, going ahead and having that top up, so any amount paid over and above the normal threshold limit set by your company, that can be claimed, but with the condition that your company, because there is no proof of payment from your side, ultimately it's routed through payroll and there is a single check going to that insurance vendor. Ultimately you have to get everything in writing from your company HR or company team, stating that on the letterhead of your company signed by proper authority, stating that you have made a complete contribution of XYZ amount for the financial year of this, which is not in group or which is not included in the group medical insurance policy.
All right. There's one more question before I take up a poll. There's one short poll coming up. So is there an upper age limit to claim deductions under 80E?
No, there is no age limit.
All right. So just hang on, Rohini. I'll just take up a poll. Wanted to check if the webinar was informative for our attendees. So attendees over there, you will get a poll question flashed on your screen for about 20 seconds. But right after the poll, we will resume our Q&A round. I will need your 20 seconds of your time just to click onto this particular poll. It will help us to gather the feedback and make the webinar better for the next time. So your poll gets launched now. I hope you can see the. All right, thank you. So we are getting a lot of options. 63% have voted so far. Thank you very much for people who have voted so far. We request the rest of the attendees also to cast your vote. It will help us to ensure the ensure we give a better show next time. All right, I'll close the poll. We've got about 83% people have voted so far. Thank you very much for your time. We will close the poll and continue with our quick Q&A. So yeah, the next question that I have is there was a question around Provident Fund. Okay, is Provident Fund taxable if account held with RPFC and withdrawn after 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
So any amount withdrawn before 5 years is taxable.
Okay, so under section 3, right? Is it section 3? Uh, okay, so we have around NPS. There's one question whether NPS Tier 1 payment receives states that the premium is allowed under section 80 CCD. Will it qualify for additional deduction of 50K?
Yes, it will. So to add on that, national any contribution made towards national pension scheme should be under tier 1. So a tier 2, any investment made under tier 2 of NPS is not eligible for claiming for under 80 CCD or any other sections. So even if the person is claiming a tier 1 investment under 80 CCD, claimable.
All right. So a lot of people have asked if they will get the recorded version of the presentation on the session. The answer is strong yes. We will right after this session we will start up a project to edit this particular session and send it to you, send it to all of you to your respective email IDs as soon as we finish up with the editing process. With that said, I can see most of the questions are can be classified into the questions and the sections that we have covered. But in case we have missed anything, in case we have missed anything, I would request you to send us those questions to the email IDs that you received the invitation from. Uh, so that we can answer them. In any case, next month during month of February 21st, we will have another session on the taxation part. We're trying to bring in more experts from external organizations to have an expert panel answering your queries. So this particular session would be on Feb 21st, and we will send you the invitation as soon as we confirm the speakers. But for this session, you have been a great audience. We have received more than 200 queries. We didn't anticipate for that. So we'll try to answer any query that we missed out. Apologies for that. Thank you, Rohini, for enlightening session. I'm sure the poll results also have given us a verdict that